a fellow Northside man, fellow Knocknaheeny man, and more importantly than that, he's performing in his very own town on Friday night in the Everyman Palace. So Chris, thanks very much for joining us and having a chat. I suppose, look, we just wanted to catch up with you ahead of the gig here in Cork. What's it going to be like?
Good, hopefully. Very good, actually. It's the biggest gig I've ever done, like, so it's a big venue, like, you know, and I think I did some supports in there, like, for bigger lads like PJ and all that, and some festivals, but I never dreamed of being able to do it on my own, but it's happening, like, and it's, you know what I mean? Looks like it's going to be a big house as well, like, so.
And how did it come about, your actual tour? So I'll touch later on as to how you got into comedy, but how did your tour come about? What was it that sparked it off?
Well, I do Edinburgh every year, like, well, not every year, because it's been going a lot longer than I've been around, but, like, I've been doing Edinburgh for 5 years now, so I write an hour every year, and I was sick of kind of cutting up the stuff and bringing it into clubs. So for my 4th show, I did a little mini tour. I did 8 dates in Ireland. And then for this one, I was just adamant to tour it, like, you know. So I did it last August in Edinburgh, got the hour, came home with an hour, and I said I need to bring this around Ireland. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just grow my tours a little bit bigger every year. Then, like, maybe next year I'll be doing 20 dates, you know.
Okay. So it's 14 dates.
14 dates
all around Ireland.
Yeah.
So you're in Cork in the Everyman on Friday, and then on Saturday night you're heading on to
Tala. In Dublin, yeah. So
Commander Dopes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's a serious, like, that's going into a small little venue then on Saturday night, but I love that, like. I love going from a tiny venue to a big venue to a kind of a medium-sized venue, like, you know.
And where did it all start for you, Chris? I mean, just for the viewers watching, I was in school with Chris. We went to Terence McSweeney Community College, which is now called something else in the Young Offenders, which we'll come to in a second. But, like, when you started off, what was it that started you off? What age did you start off at?
I think I did my first gig when I was 21, so nearly 12 years ago, 13 years ago. But I just saw, I didn't know a comedy existed, you know? As in, like, you see Tommy Tiernan, Des Bishop, you just imagine them. They're just comedians to me, like, I don't know. I never really thought about the backstory, and then Des Bishop did Join the Hood, of course, and I knew few fellas on that.
In this very venue?
And I watched the gig in here, and I just saw people like that I know, like, doing it, normal people doing stand-up and making people laugh, and I was hooked straight away. I was going, I want to do that. And I wanted to be told to do it, but I wasn't. I wanted to get a nudge and say, you're funny, but you should do it, but no one ever said that to me. So I just had to build up the willpower myself. Like.
It is something that I think, you know, obviously you've Jack now, you're a family man, but back then it really is, it's about you as a person. You had a career, then you went from being a hobby to taking that plunge. Was that a difficult decision?
It wasn't, because I tell you, it was a dream of mine for ages to be a full-time comic. So it started off as a hobby, because I was quite introverted in school. Like, I didn't say boo to anyone. Like, between a small group of friends, I loved making them laugh, but I was an electrician, very stable job, as they call it. But I came back from Australia and there was just no work there, like, you know, there was nothing. And I was just about getting a couple of paid gigs then. And I was looking for work like a lunatic. It was just at the crash of 2008, and I was going, literally applying for hundreds of jobs, like, and not just electrical, supermarkets, everywhere. I wanted to do anything to get paid. And at the same time, I was starting to make a little bit of money off comedy, and I said, why don't I try and focus a bit of energy into this, and maybe try and get an agent, and you know, and that's kind of where it started then, like.
And is it hard, I suppose, from the point of view of material? Like, where do you get material from, or is there obviously life stories you come in and we'll touch on in a second, one of my personal favourite stories. But where does the material come from? How do you go about sourcing it?
At the beginning, I think it's all kind of whatever you think everyone else thinks is funny.
Okay.
So you literally say anything to get a laugh. I could say something that I heard someone say on a building site. I said, that was funny. I'll say that myself tonight. And then after a while, you kind of start thinking, what do I think is actually funny, like, you know? And trying to articulate that and get that out there is it's much more pleasing to me, like, you know what I mean? And then I just go, even quite dark stages of my life, I've gone, there's something funny in here, like, and something brewing in my head. There's something funny about this situation. And I never go to it at the time, but it'll always be lingering around there, like, you know?
And you mentioned, like, dark points. Is that, like, dark personal dark, or dark in your career?
Dark personal, sort of self-conscious stuff. Dark points where I wasn't making any money off this, like, you know. Dark points where but I think it's hilarious, like, you know, that I'm not making any money and everyone thinks I'm making loads of money, and I think that's very funny, like, you know. People can resonate with it. even my wife, like when we had Jack, like I don't want to say anything because it's kind of a very big part of the show. Like,
of course, yeah. Without giving away too much.
Yeah, things got very, very scary, like, you know. But I knew either side of it, there was very funny moments. But Jack being born, everything around it, and, you know, I won't say too much, but I turned that into comedy, like, you know.
So you're very much looking forward to Friday night in front of what I would call your own hometown, your home fans.
I can't wait, genuinely. I'm overwhelmed, like, even by the amount of people that bought tickets for already. I'm going, geez, I never expected to be walking out on the main stage there, like, you know.
And as you said, your gig, your tour.
My name, everyone's coming to see me, like, you know. So I'm just overwhelmed about it.
And is there tickets still available if people want to purchase? Is there?
I'd say so. There was a good few hundred a couple of minutes ago, so unless something went mental now, unless someone's after going on a mad buying spree, like I'd say there's a few tickets available.
Just to give people a flavour as to what they can expect, one of my favourite clips, as obviously a local Northside man here, Chris, is speaking on stage about a very funny story when he was a dodgy electrician. So we'll just have a look at this.
I was an electrician. That's another job I had. I never knew I wanted to be an electrician. I remember going back to my dad. I said, Dad, I'm after being offered an apprenticeship as an electrician. And my dad said, take it, take it, take it, take it, take it. Have you taken that job yet? Take it, take it. I said, Dad, I don't even know if I like electricity. He was like, take it, take it. I'll tell you why he told me take it. He said, if you take that job, Christopher, you will never be out of work. Here I am now. Wheelings with a microphone I didn't fucking wire, to be quite honest with you. And as well as never being out of work, he said, when you're a qualified electrician, you can charge people as much money as you like. Of course I took the job. I had dreams, calling into my aunt's house, first day qualified, plugging a lamp into the corner. There'd be £1,000 there, please. She'd be like, what? I'd be like, I can charge what I like. Now give me the money, or I'll fucking plug it straight back out, all right? I leave you in the dark, bitch. I'm an electrician. But it wasn't like that. It didn't pan out like that. I wasn't a very good electrician. In Cork, where I'm from, when I saw a fire engine, I had to bless myself because I was like, I fucking wired a house up there, like, you know? And I wish that was a joke, but it isn't. It's the paranoia I have. But she was very old anyway, that's the main thing, you know? Sort of, saves are being cremated, am I right? Every cloud is possibly smoke. That's what I say, you know? So, and I was always a messer anyway. I was destined for comedy, even as an electrician. And I know it's not the best thing to be messing with, but I was always like, I would put the cooker switch in the bedroom just for a laugh, right? No one ever found that funny. Just for a laugh. There wouldn't even be any wires behind it, it'd just be there. And they'd be like, where's the cooker switch? And I'd be like, it's in the bedroom. And they'd be like, put it into the kitchen. I'd be like, oh. But I'm thinking about it now, I think it actually would be good. Like, do you know, like for people with OCD or something, like trying to get to sleep at night, like, did I turn the cook? Did I did, brilliant, yeah. So I think I was actually onto something, even though I was messing. Put the whole fuse board there, you know? No. Nighty night.
There had a Chris, very funny one, I think, with the sirens in the background.
Yeah.
Obviously, your own personal experience growing up, that obviously has played part of it as well as and where we're from as people.
Yeah, 100%. Like I did jokes about, I didn't release it yet, but I did in my third show jokes about being from Knocknaheeny, like, you know. And one thing I didn't want to do was, sometimes when a comedian's from a working class area, they sort of come out and, even though it's funny, they kind of shit all over the area, like, you know. And they kind of go, I'm from this place, so clearly I'm like this, or I'm like that, where I tried to give them a more honest point of view of what it's like being from a rough area, like, you know, because it's not people around me, it's people jump into assumptions, like I'm sure you got it from being from Knocknaheeny.
Yeah.
Someone kind of, as soon as you tell them, they're like, oh, you must be, like, you know, able to look after yourself and all that, and they go, no, I'm not. I grew up like terrified most of the time. So, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, well, how does that make me anything? I used to do jokes about it then going, just people jump to assumptions, like.
It's a bit like, I suppose, one of your most recent gigs that you got is a part in the Young Offenders.
Yes.
How did that come about, or how did that, that you were the person that was selected?
I threw my name in the hat for it, like everyone else. I loved the film. Again, I actually had a small, I was going to go, oh no, are they going to make us look like, you know, I was going, But I loved it, like a lot of heart in it, and I thought, what a great movie, like, you know. So then when I heard it was going to become a series, I was going, geez, I'd love a part in that, like, even though I'm not an actor or anything. Then I threw my hat in the ring, just felt, you know, did a self-tape in my kitchen in St. Albans in London, and I was going. Then I heard back from him, like, you know, I knew the casting director had seen me do stand-up actually, and he got back onto me, and I did an audition in June, and I didn't hear anything back. And then I heard back just when I was in Edinburgh at the festival saying, I'd like to offer you a different part as the dad of one
So
of the
you had
lads.
actually auditioned for a different part?
I'd auditioned for kind of like an extra, like, you know.
Okay.
But I don't think I was very good in the audition, like, because your man rang me up and went, I think you've got, what was he saying to me now? I can't even think of one word now, to be honest with you. I think you've got, what's the fucking word?
You've got
This
something.
is me, this is my dad.
Had you your beard?
No,
or had you your
no, it's nothing to do with me.
your 16-year-old?
This is my dad, Bren. Now, like 100%, being up all night with him. He's going. Wait, that word is gone.
No, we'll have to go
What-
back. We'll
what's
have to
the
go back
thing?
to Saint.
What's the thing? What's the thing where you, where they're like you might be good at that?
There's a possibility. That you
Yeah,
might be good
it's
at it?
yeah, it's gone. It'll probably come back to me.
Yeah, we'll
later
come
on.
back in a second. When you obviously went and you did that for me forms part of an opportunity for you as a comedian to bring what you've done with those guys and those people in the movie into what you're going to be doing in the next couple of years. Is that something that crossed your mind when you got the gig?
Yeah, well, I was just going, it's an experience, like, you know, it's like a great TV show, and it's close to my heart because it's in Cork as well. And yeah, I was going, that's good. I'd love to do more of it, and open any kind of door. If I can open a door that makes more people to come and see my stand-up, then I'll open it, like, you know.
And is it obviously for the people watching, you may not know this, but the school that we both went to, Terence Maxwell Community College, that's the feature school. So that must even be class to see that on the big screen.
It's class. And as well, like, I was quite nervous the first day, but it was in Cork. Everyone was amazing. And I know PJ well from stand-up, and he's a main role in it, like, you know. So I was just really comfortable around them and everything, and it was class. Like.
And bring it back to current day, I suppose, Chris, without going into the show on Friday. What are your plans? What are your hopes in the next couple of years? Where do you see yourself progressing? You mentioned getting bigger gigs and bigger venues. What's in store for yourself? Yeah,
well, I'm going to go to Edinburgh again next year, write another show, come back, hopefully do a slightly bigger tour than this one in Ireland, do the Everyman again and all that, and do some more gigs, maybe start building up a little tour in England then as well. I'm doing one date in London, like, and I'm doing one in Glasgow, Edinburgh and Newcastle with another Irish comic. That isn't this show, but I'm trying to build on that as well, crack the club scene over there properly and get another bit of TV then as well, like, that's fine. What's it like? What's a typical week like for a comedian like yourself? You're obviously travelling around Ireland, but what does it entail? Is it a lonely kind of a life, or is it It can be lonely, like there is a bit of travelling, there's a bit of work. A lot of people don't realise you have a lot of flights to book, a lot of good journeys to, you know, book. You have to juggle it when you've got a kid now as well, you have to mind him and all that. Then you have to write. In between all of that? And in between all that, you have to try and write a new show, like, you know. And but for the most part, it's the best job in the world. But I think the fact that, for me it is anyway, I think it's amazing, like making people laugh. So it's kind of like, it's one of those questions, you love it, what's the worst part of your job? The worst part of my job is the not knowing, I'd say. The fact that, like, just say for instance now, I've nothing booked in my calendar for September to December. And of course I wouldn't. But every now and again I'll wake up and go, oh my God, what am I going to do? But that's fine, like, you know. There's nothing booked for anyone at that time, like, you know what I mean? Yes. It's just, I think the not knowing is probably the worst part. And yeah, I mean, not even the bad gigs. People say, what's your worst gig and all that, like, and getting heckled and having a terrible time. Does that happen? Does that happen? Yeah. A couple of times, yeah. But I think, again, I love turning that into comedy. Like, I walk away and probably have a cry for a couple of days and go, it's actually hilarious. Because I'm self-depreciating. If anything, when I go, oh, I have something there now. And what's the one part of your job? Obviously, it's making people laugh, but what's the one part of what you do and how you do it that's, you're like, that was a good gig, I enjoyed that? I think turning something that so when I think of something funny, but I don't know why it's funny, but I think that's funny, and I go, how am I even going to articulate that? Like, getting something like that across, writing it on a page, and then coming across and resonating with people in the crowd, and go, and getting everybody on board, and then even maybe getting people approaching you going, oh God, I have the same kind of thing, or oh, it's something similar happened to me, like, you know.
But people's perceptions of any job, whether you're a comedian, whether you're a teacher, it's like, oh, I could do that, it's simple. What does it take? What has it taken you to put this show on for 14 gigs that you're doing around Ireland? How long has that come into fruition?
I became a dad about 2 years ago, so I started writing probably before that. So I was like, you know, and years of just honing my craft as well. Comedian, you know, loads and loads of stage time, loads and loads of bad stage time, which is very important. Like doing gigs to 2 or 3 people in a crowd, like, you know, doing gigs to 10 people with hardly no English, like, you know, just hard slogging. And then you really appreciate when all of a sudden you're in a festival surrounded by Tommy Tiernan or Kevin Bridges or big huge acts, like, you know, and then you get a bit of a buzz and you go, oh, I think I want to create something more, like, you know. What's
it like to play with people like that obviously were around maybe at the start of your career, that were at the height? What's it like to play with those people?
It's brilliant, like, it's a bit surreal, like, I'm better at it now, but people in my DVD collection, and then you're playing with them, you know, and their sound are just the same as anyone, the same as us, like, they have a chat with you afterwards. Most of them, they have the same insecurities as everybody, like, you know.
Do they help you? Do they give you tips?
Some
ideas?
of them have been very helpful, yeah. PJ Gallagher was great to me, actually. He saw me and he went, I was going up and down to Dublin from Cork now when I started off, like, to do 7 minutes, no money. Drive up, do 7 minutes, drive straight back.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Drive up to Belfast for 7 minutes, drive straight back. And there was just one gig where I think I might have been doing 15 minutes in a comedy club in Dublin. I drove up and PJ Gallagher was on. And I did 15 minutes and it went really well. And he was going, that was brilliant, man. And then he goes, can I get your number? And I was like, yeah. And I got a phone call on the Monday from his agency who said, can you open for PJ in 2 weeks? And then I got loads of gigs like that off him. And then because of that, I got into a festival. And then because of that, I got an agency, his agency. So then, you know, then Neil Delamere kind of gave me a few gigs and David O'Doherty gave me a few gigs.
So that's kind of right place, right time.
Right place, right time, yeah. And do you know what? I actually drove to Dublin the week before that as well, because there was a mix-up to the very same venue. Because I drove all the way up to Dublin. My friends were down from Dublin, were down in Cork with me at a party. And I drove up to Dublin that Monday, I drove them all home. So I was like, I have a gig anyway. And I pulled up outside the gig and I rang your man and said, oh, what time's it starting? He goes, you're not until next week. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, you could jump on tonight if you want instead, though. And I looked at the lineup, and the following week was PJ and Maeve, and I went, no, I'll come back on next week. And I did it, and I think it was a kind of a pivotal part, really, like, you know. I got a bit of a break off it, like.
There is different styles of comedy, obviously, as we know. For me, you think you mentioned Tommy Tiernan, and he's to me, he's like, oh, super excited, super hyper and into it. Yeah. Then when you look at you, you mentioned about school, you were kind of a quiet guy. On stage, you're still funny in your way, so is there a style that you just developed into?
I think slowly my style developed from, I think, a little bit of paranoia about my accent being understood in Dublin and in Galway. So you speak a small bit slower, and I have a lot of details. So I want to tell people all the details, you know, and it just kind of happened organically then, like, you know.
Okay.
And my style kind of went into, like, one of my first favourite bits was about my dad going through off from porch when he was drunk, you know, and it was a story, like, it was a big story, and people were like, I love the way you talk about one thing, and then I was like, I get another story about my wedding, then I get another story, so that's what I love doing, like, I like thinking of a small daft joke now as well, like, and throwing that in there, you know.
I think something that you mentioned there has kind of struck a chord in that stories is what people like. Specifically, I don't know what it's like outside of Ireland, but people like to know because they're putting themselves
in the story,
in your story, as
100%.
if it was them or they've been there before. So story is obviously something that you have to be very good at.
100%. Like I have stories that are like 25 minutes long, like, you know. I couldn't do them in England because you only have a 20-minute set, like, you know. But and as well, when I moved over there, I was thinking my style might be a bit too slow, like, you know. But what's weird is that your style, if you think your style is too slow when you're doing it, you'll think it's that way. You can't think of anything else but comedy. You need to really be in it, like, you know, telling them about it. You can't be outside it thinking about, what about my accent? What about this? What about that? If you're thinking of anything else, if there's a fight breaking out over there and you're thinking about it, then your comedy's going to suffer. Like, you need to be in it, like, you know.
You need to be engrossed in that story.
Yeah, you need to be in it. Like, you need to tell them it, and you need to believe in it, like, you know.
What has been the one standout highlight of your career to date before Friday night?
Before Friday night, It's hard to pick one. I opened for Bill Burr on Vicar Street in Dublin. That was class. Yeah, he introduced me from the side mic, and I think I had a good 10 minutes grace just because he said my name. Welcome to the stage, Chris Kent, one of my buddies, Chris Kent. And I just met him, he was lying like. But yeah, that was probably one of my standout bits. Because weirdly enough, I'm not a comedy geek, like I didn't really know much about him back then.
Is it an art? Is it something that you either can do or you can't?
I think a lot of people get by on confidence. And a lot of people are not. Can be like, you can just do it purely by presenting themselves as very confident, like,
Okay.
But I do think funny is funny, like, you need to be funny regardless of what level of confidence you have. If you're the most confident fella in the world and you're not funny, it just won't really work, won't continue to work anyway.
It's not like a soccer game where you have 11 players and you can hide.
No, you can't hide.
You're a comedian, you're on stage, it's you, whether it's 1 or 1,000, it's you.
But I love that then. I'd be the total. I boxed as well for years. I'm pure. I don't want to take responsibility for anybody, like, only myself.
I like the tweet during the week as well. I think was it today where Spike was obviously tweeting you, wishing you good luck for your Friday, and he said, "Just don't take up boxing."
Yeah, exactly. Like, I knew my place. Like, I gave up boxing after a couple of years.
And I suppose without giving away anything about Friday night, what can people expect who haven't already bought tickets? What can they expect? Obviously, with outside the usual funny gags, what sort of an ideal night can they have when you're going to be on stage in Cork?
Yeah, I can expect a really good gig. I have a great support act on from Kerry as well.
Who's opening up for you?
Brendan Casey, look him up, he's very funny. He opened for me in Whelan's last week and he was brilliant. So I'm delighted now I have him. I only have a support for 2 gigs. That one in Dublin and this one, because I do it normally myself. Do a half an hour, take a break and then do my show, like, So it's going to be a great show, like, I'm really proud of it. It's the best show I've ever written, I believe. It's a story show, there's loads of gags in it, there's a bit of heart in it as well. And I think people are in for a good night, like,
And before we finish up, you mentioned about starting and coming on before these people. You're obviously now giving other people the opportunity to come and work with you ahead of your crowds. Like.
I'd love to do it, like, for every single gig, but I couldn't take the risk and go, throwing a gig on in Limerick, say, just in case 20 people turned up. I couldn't take a support with me because I wouldn't have made any money, like, Luckily now they've all gone well, but I'm only delighted to give fellas a go, like, and just go, there's a gig there for you. Because I know how it feels to get that phone call, like, I know how it feels to get PJ going, can you support me here? Like, you'd be jumping around the kitchen, like, going, brilliant, there's another gig here, like, you're onto something, so.
Well, I wish you the very best on Friday.
Fred, so
I will see you Friday night. Inside in the Everyman Palace, and of course, folks, there are tickets still available. If you want to get tickets, obviously go to the Everyman website, Chris's website, check it out, have a look, and looking forward to Friday night. So I wish you the very best of luck.
Cheers,
thanks very much.
Thanks a million.
You're watching Unity TV, powered by Unity Media Network.